Stood outside in the rain now.
I'm just thinking about what shouldn't we said live.
Right, so we're now recording. Good.
All good?
Good, yeah. Do you know, we spend hours every day literally arguing about what we're going to do or not going to do on this
And then
show.
probably you don't do any of it.
Very true.
He ignores our opinion and does what he's about
That's
to
what
do.
he wants to do anyway.
Yeah, so you went to the University of British Columbia? Is that
Yes.
true? Yeah, okay.
Started there and then ended up on the other side of the mountains. So Canada's kind of strange. You've got the eastern part, and whenever you run into somebody, they go, "Oh, I've been to Canada," and you go, "Oh, Toronto." "Oh, yeah." So it's like 30% of the population lives there. Eastern Canada is very different, and so I was lucky to grow up in the West Coast and then moved to the Canadian Rockies, and it's been I'm definitely Western Canada boy.
And University of Alberta as well. Is that
Yes.
right?
So I would love to tell you I was as efficiently academic as my other Canadian partner. And that would be one of the places we are dire opposites of each other. I took 5.5 years, I think, to get a Bachelor of Arts. So I basically call it my advanced high school degree in political science. And I got a job in politics, of all things.
Okay. I'll tell you what, something else you did. I've got it in front of me.
Wow.
And I think it's a question that, most, if not all Posh fans want to know. How was it being the Minister of Technology for Alberta in the late 80s?
Now, I wish that wouldn't be publicly true. I was the Chief of Staff for the Minister of Technology. Okay. So, but it was really interesting because that's actually how I got into business. So the first project we did, you guys did the same thing where the telecom used to be owned by the government, and we privatized it and took it public. So I was on a part of the executive committee, and when you're 24 on the executive committee, that means you carry coffee and donuts and learn a lot of things. So it was really cool to be part of it, and that's actually how I got into business, actually. There was a club, non-league club, that came available, and Jason and I have always been talking about it. I can't remember whether he said it or I said it, and we started to talk about it seriously. And then it got out, and, the investment bankers, the Deloittes, everybody found out these two Canadians were looking. And it was remarkable how many calls we got about different clubs, etc. Peterborough was not on the list. I want to be very clear. Darragh was never looking to get out. It was a broker through another guy who said, "You know what? I think this guy might be looking for a change." Now, when we first went to talk to Darragh, it wasn't about that. We were heavy into negotiations with another club, and everybody's always asking. So it's kind of out, but I'm not going to help that along. And when we started talking to Darragh, to be blunt, 10 minutes in, he and I were getting along like a house on fire. And of course, Jason's acting like, dad, now children, right? So
he did say he's got that relationship.
Yes, he totally does. And it was like, I remember, because I'm such a harsh negotiator. It's like 10 minutes after, I'm going, we got to talk to him about, would he like to be potentially business partners? Because I was like, come on, and it just went from there. Like we do the three of us. I think there's a kind of a weird chemistry.
Was it always meant to be a trio then, and not you two buying him out completely?
No, it was never. That was never, ever on the table. I went through this with one of the supporters groups. So I teach entrepreneurship. I actually teach people how to start businesses all over 30 countries. That's a shameless plug. And I actually tell them there is no such thing as a good decision in business. What you're doing is you're taking a form of poison. So you either drink hemlock and die slowly, arsenic, die quickly. I think that's the issue with corporate structuring. Now, we won't spend 15 minutes talking corporate structures, but if you take hundreds of millions of dollars of assets that have nothing to do with football and you drop them into the football club, you can either say, great, we have control. The football club has control. Great. You also have an anchor that could drag the club down, and the club's seen that. On the other side, if you take the asset and you put it on the outside, then, the club doesn't have control, so what does the club own? But that asset's out there. The club, Peterborough, has also seen that happen, where owners have pushed it outside and done some interesting corporate structuring with it. The truth of the matter is this club, Peterborough United, has seen both. It has seen what happens when you take an asset you can't afford and own it. And they've seen when it happens when an owner has the asset outside. So I would go back and say, which poison would you like to drink? And I'm suggesting what I know about business is that even property owners will take 17 buildings, and each building will actually become its own company so that the other 16 buildings don't get taken down when one gets wrecked. And that was our thought process, was let's make sure that what we do off the field doesn't affect Peterborough United Football Club. And I've stood in front of the fans and said, I recognize both choices, and this was our thought process. This is the poison we've chosen to drink. And yes, we've thought about the fact you're scared that 3 foreign owners have assets, corporate assets outside the club. And I will look them in the eye and I'll tell them, this is way better for you. How's that for an answer? I think we knew what we were getting with Steve Evans when we brought it here. And you know, Steve and I get along fine, and you know, welcome each other, and he's a local guy. And at the end of a period of time, his culture and the way he did things didn't work for Peterborough. Does that make sense? Like, I think you guys have actually spent a lot of time talking about what a Peterborough football club looks like. And there's certain things, like, again, we've said Millwall or Sunderland, you actually kind of get used to how you expect those teams to play. And I think all of you would agree, the one thing that didn't happen last year was a Peterborough team on the club. No. And it was personality and reflection of the team in the community with other teams, as well as what we put on the field.
I think, in fairness, we weren't succeeding. We'd had 5 years in the wilderness, hadn't we? And we weren't succeeding, or even really looking like we were going to succeed. You've tried something different.
It was worth a try, I think.
And I think you had to try, to be honest with you, because we couldn't keep going on as we were going on. You've tried it. It looked initially as though it was going to be successful, and then it just petered out.
Have you not noticed a pattern there? That's what's happening at Gillingham now. It's that huge influx of players, squabbles, and then it doesn't work out. So I think there's a pattern for them.
Interesting for me, when I got on, it was literally, I think my first week as a manager was as Grant McCann was going out. And Darragh, to his credit, had talked to us about, hey, you guys are coming in and I'm thinking about doing this. Hey, it's, you know, you're running the football thing, we're new. And one of the things I remember about the club, or the team, not the club, 2 years ago, was just the lack of heart with, like, there in the middle of the park, and, you know, Anthony Grant, the way he did things, and it just felt like, you know, having a spark plug for that particular team was a really good way to go. And then the spark plug came in, blew up the team, basically, right? Brought in a whole bunch of players, and that seems to work for a period of time. We had a pretty good start, if we're being honest. And then we realized, okay, that's not the way we want to go. So he, like I said, I think you know what you're getting with Steve Evans. He does what he does, and he does it all the time. And you just have to decide, is that what your football club's about? I'm finding that Tony has a way of eliciting a reaction from Peterborough fans that I actually almost don't understand. There's some that are just, they love him. He's the best player. Can't do anything wrong. And there's others that's like, oh, he missed an easy one. He can't do this. It's kind of an interesting thing.
You're talking about me, really, aren't you?
No. As you know, my other partner is a bit of a fanboy.
I think he's our best striker at the moment. And like I say...
Wow, you're really putting that out there. And by the way, the rest of the room went silent. I noticed that.
But I do. I think Tony is so important in that team at the moment.
I'd agree, because like we just stated, he's got so many different aspects of his game.
I think it's the things that are in his locker that are different than putting the ball in the back of the net make him essential. But if I'm banking on between Mo and Ivan putting the ball in the back of the net at the moment, ooh, you want to bet a mortgage on Ivan's balls going in the back of the nets? He just misses too many easy ones. But again, let me do a different thing. I'm a big fan. You know, Newcastle kid comes down. All he's done is played well since he got here. His work effort, you know, is second to none. He's actually knocked more balls out of our own box than most of our own defenders, which is, I mean, he's fantastic. What I love about all three of them, though, is that right now, when I got here, London Road was sometimes a library. And the cool part this year, London Road's never a library. One of those three guys gets the ball, the whole stadium's lit.
You notice that a lot with Madison. When he gets the ball, his head down and he starts going, you
And
can
the
feel
whole,
the atmosphere goes.
He literally brings the stadium with him, doesn't he?
I think
it's really cool to watch. You always have three things, I think, going on when we look. First off, Darragh is definitely, we've left that he's the football guy, but we have a great conversation between the three of us now. So the plan was always to have him here and have the two pieces, like have somebody brings the ball down and bring some pace. Like, imagine if Jack Marriott had Ivan Toney, right? So there was always that thought there, but there's also lingering. It's, the phone's ringing. Hey, what do you need for Ivan? Hey, what do you need for Ivan? So you got two things going on. What happens if? And I think I have to say the first 8 players that Darren and Darragh put in front of the board went 8 for 8. So we already knew, we'd identified people we wanted and we got them. And that was pretty spectacular.
Quickly as well.
Quickly. Well, that's the one thing I think philosophically I'm totally on the same page as Darragh, is that get the job done early. I hate the panic with 48 hours to go. That's just bad business practice. And know what you want, go get it.
It doesn't make sense, does it? Waiting
it's crazy.
Until the last minute.
But why does everybody do it? I know we love it. Bob Sims has been a big proponent of safe standing. We've looked at options. It's going to be tough going up. And I don't think, if we're being honest, British politics has some other things they're worrying about right now.
I believe so, yeah.
Also, I think the last Minister of Sport was very clear that she didn't want it on her agenda. So if we just watch you're asking a former political hack how I see this thing going down, I think this thing's going to get kicked down the road another 5 years. So
people should be given the choice and treated like adults, I always think.
Well, okay. But then that's all good and fine until somebody gets sued, and then somebody has to pay for the lawsuits, and then somebody gets elected because of lawsuits. And there's all sorts of things that it's all the ancillaries with decisions like that. And of course, there's...
What would the case be then? Say if we was promoted this season, going to the next season in the Championship, would the stand be able to be working as it is?
That's going to be up to the EFL. So you can apply to say we're not ready to do that this year, but we've already done that twice.
Yeah, I remember, yeah.
And so this would be our third time up. Now, Jason reminds us it's 7 years, not 6, that we've been in the League One. So, maybe we'll get some mercy, but we've had lots of time to fix that. I don't know. I guess I'm saying I don't know is the right answer, right? But I think we should all plan that won't be in our immediate future. But if we get our way, we'd like to be one of the clubs out front of being part of creating the new future in the safe standing space. That's a great question. I mean, by the way, Jason is going to be listening, and he sent me a text, and he says, make sure you tell them we want more schools for the school initiative. That's your number one message tonight. It's not, but it's his, so I just passed it on. How's that? So there you go, Jason. Plug for the schools initiative.
That's within is that a 20-mile radius you do that?
Yeah. And obviously we can expand it. I think there's other community groups we can look at as well. But I think you asked me about what's my reaction to Peterborough and Peterborough fans. If I was here and I wasn't an owner, I want to say fair play. So Saturday morning, I have a choice. I can take a train into London and I can catch Arsenal, Chelsea, or Tottenham, or if I'm more inclined, QPR, Millwall, or whoever I want to hang out with in London, and go see that and come back, right? Or I can be part of the local team. You can't force people to get the local club religion. You just can't, right?
It's frustrating though.
Well, frustrating. You can say it's frustrating, but it's like, it is like religion. It's like, boy, how do we get more Protestants to show up to church on Sunday morning? Well, they're either going to come or they're not, right? And, I think some of the owners have said the better football brings more fans. I don't know that you had better attendance in the championship.
We had slightly.
I honestly think if you opened the gates and said, right, free for the next home game, there would be more, but there wouldn't. You wouldn't. It wouldn't be sold out.
No.
I just don't
At
think
the
the people
moment,
are
as
there.
we stand, it would be difficult to increase crowds.
So this is my shameless plug from my agenda item was, I think a new stadium where you didn't have to put up with some of the amenities that are not family friendly right now in London Road. There's a lot of cultural, I grew up playing Football Manager. I knew where London Road was, right? It's one of those grounds. You just know London Road is Peterborough. And when I came here, I totally was like, you can do whatever you want as an owner, but we're never leaving London Road. Like that was one of the things we always thought. And then it's like, it gets to the point where it's a no-brainer. Like if it was more family friendly and the facilities weren't like, you wouldn't be embarrassed to have your kid go into a loo or whatever. The concessions in main stand used to be washrooms. That's really cool too. Like you just go through all the different things. Now imagine a new place that's more community. Women and children want to come to it. It's safer. It's cleaner.
Do you think that would improve attendance?
I don't know.
It's
I gotta be honest. I'm never gonna say yes, but I think that's got to be the great throw of the dice.
I know a lot of the fans. What fans are worrying about is having a lovely stadium, say like MK Dons, what they've got.
Yeah.
Amazing, but
scares me too.
and the atmosphere is shocking.
I've gone to a couple of MLS games on the other side, and when those stadiums, I try to get as such a thing as a Canadian soccer fan walks into a bar, right? That's a joke. Come on, it's funny. There's no such thing. You have empty stadiums in the MLS, and it can suck the life out of a club.
If you build a big stadium, it will be half empty. There's no two ways about that, right? And it would be difficult to increase the amount of people going through the turnstiles each week.
The average age of the people that are coming to the fan forums is not millennial. How's that? That got a laugh. But I'm noticing, just even in the development along Fletton Keys, it's condos. It looks very young-ish, right? I think, obviously it's been a tough week in the job front here in Peterborough. But there's going to be, with the trains, and there's going to be people that are going to be looking for options to London or other communities. I see a big change in just even in 2 years of being here, a demographic change in Peterborough, which I think is going to flip over not just into businesses, but what people are interested in. So I actually think, which is interesting, people moving here will probably buy into Peterborough United more than people who grew up here. Because it's interesting, even when I was in Cathedral Square on Saturday night, somebody said, I'm going to say it again, careful in case you have to put the beep, welcome to our town. It's kind of shit, but we like it. Well, I don't think it is. We looked at a couple other clubs. I'll tell you, I've seen some shit towns in England.
If you go to any city in the country, there'll be people in it who put that city down.
Yeah,
so,
it's crazy.
Irrespective. I mean, I think Peterborough is a nice place actually. It has its
It gets a bad
issues.
rap.
Has its issues, but it's a decent place to be honest.
But the demographics changing, and I think that will have an impact on the football club.
What's your thoughts on the
It's I have to tell you, and I always wonder why you guys hate it so much. It's one of my favorite cups.
Is it?
Yeah, because I'm a big fan of. First, it provides some cash for the clubs, all of them. It also allows you to try other players.
That's the
right.
positive,
I'm a
yeah.
big fan of that. And if you're a fan of football in any way, you want to see how deep are we. And this is the one place you get to find out how deep we are. And if you've watched Harrison Burroughs play, you realize, holy cow, we've got some talent that's young and can play. Where are they going to get the chance to do that?
I think players like Tazdemir as well. I think he had a great game.
Hell of when he came on Saturday. Wow.
Yeah. Wasn't that something? And how old is he?
19.
Yeah.
19, yeah.
And how do you get him more playing time?
True.
I think he's changed our minds on the Ron Seal Cup.
Oh, yeah. I love it. I really do. This is, in fact, I'm here this week. I usually pick a time when I can actually catch the Schlesinger Cup.
I like it.